Two of the most important concepts related to internet marketing are traffic and competition. In this video, we'll be exploring these concepts in more detail. Specifically, we'll be looking at understanding traffic estimates, how web page rankings develop over time, why we use broad match traffic data, and why we use phrase match competition data. Each time you enter a term into Google, the search engine takes note of your keyword phrase. Over time, Google develops estimates relating to how many times a day people search for different keyword phrases. This information is important to us as internet marketers because it allows us to gain estimates of the traffic that we can potentially receive to our website if we target particular keywords. For any particular keyword phrase, Google can help us to develop three different traffic estimates: an exact match traffic estimate, a phrase match traffic estimate, and a broad match traffic estimate. Let's take a look at each of these in more detail. To make things a little easier to follow, let's look at a specific example of the search term trout fishing. An exact match traffic estimate relates to how many people are typing in the exact term trout fishing into Google and then clicking through to visit the #1 ranked site in the search results. A phrase match traffic estimate relates to how many people are searching for a phrase containing the words trout fishing in this word order, and this would include examples such as trout fishing, but also phrases such as trout fishing tips or rods for trout fishing and New Zealand trout fishing vacations. You'll notice in all of these examples the words trout and fishing are in the same word order. Now let's take a look at broad match traffic estimates. Broad match traffic relates to how many people are searching for a phrase containing the words trout and fishing in any word order along with additional words. This would include phrases, of course, such as trout fishing tips, fly fishing for trout, fishing for trout from a boat, and many other variations. This time, the two words trout and fishing do not have to be in the right order. Now you may be wondering why it's so important to distinguish between exact match, phrase match, and broad match traffic estimates. In order to answer this question, we need to take a quick look at how Google rankings develop over time. When you first create a website and let Google know about it, Google sends out an automated bot called a Googlebot or Spider to examine your website. The Googlebot examines the content on your page and the number and type of links that point to your site, and then ranks your site for particular keyword phrases that it sees as relevant. Let's imagine that you continue to add good quality content to your website and you manage to obtain backlinks from a few good quality websites. The next time the Googlebot visits your site, it will repeat its analysis and give you a new rank for particular keyword phrases. The important thing to understand here is that you achieve different rankings over time as your site grows and develops more authority. What we've observed in the past is that you usually obtain exact match rankings first. Then, as you add content and obtain links, you obtain phrase match rankings. And finally, as your site develops more authority, you obtain broad match rankings. What this means is that we can use the different traffic estimates as a way to look into the future of our business, almost as though we had a crystal ball. So a good way to understand this is to think of an exact match traffic estimate as the short-term traffic potential associated with a keyword. A phrase match traffic estimate relates to the medium-term traffic potential, and a broad match traffic estimate can provide you with an idea of the long-term traffic potential of the keyword phrase that you are targeting. When you begin using Market Samurai for the challenge, you may notice that we use broad match traffic estimates when evaluating different keyword phrases. The reason we use broad match traffic data as a default is that it's the long-term traffic potential of a keyword phrase that is the most relevant when you are trying to decide which keywords to target in your online business. I know this is a little bit tricky to understand, so let's just clarify the main thing you should take away from this section of the video. When you are assessing traffic, you should use broad match data. Now let's take a look at the second important concept for today, which is competition. If you're like most people, when you go to Google, you simply enter your search term into the search box and then click the Google search button. For example, I might type in the phrase trout fishing. At the top of the results screen, Google gives me an estimate of the number of web pages in its index that are related to my search term. For my trout fishing example, Google has found about 3,090,000 results. The interesting thing about this figure is that not all of these pages are directly competing for the keyword trout fishing. The best way to think of this figure is that it is an estimate of the web pages that broadly match my search term. If I want a better estimate of how many web pages specifically mention the phrase trout fishing, all I have to do is enter my search term in quotation marks. So, entering trout fishing and clicking the Google search button shows me that there are 1,840,000 websites that specifically mention the phrase trout fishing. While this is still a large number of competing websites, it is a lot less than the 3,090,000 broad match figure. So just to clarify, if I want to see my broad match competition, I simply enter terms into Google as normal. But if I want to see my more specific phrase match competition, I can enter terms into Google surrounded by quotation marks. Now let me explain why it's important to understand the difference between phrase and broad match competition. Over the last few years of doing the challenge, what we've noticed is that when creating a new website, you should start by focusing on your most specific competition. We've also noticed that if you can analyze and outrank this specific competition, you will often see improvement in your broad match rankings as well. Now once again, I know these concepts can be a little confusing, but the thing to take away from this section of the video is that when it comes to competition, generally speaking, we should begin by focusing on phrase match data. So let's now quickly recap what we've covered in this video. We began by identifying that two of the most important concepts in internet marketing are traffic and competition. When it comes to traffic, we've seen that exact match data relates to how many people are searching for a specific keyword phrase such as trout fishing. Phrase match data, on the other hand, relates to how many people are searching for a keyword phrase in a specific order that may be included with other keywords. An example of this is trout fishing tips. Also, we saw that broad match data relates to how many people are searching for keywords in any order that may be included with other keywords, and some examples of this were fishing lures for trout and fly fishing for trout. We then saw that we can use the different match types, much like a crystal ball, to look into our business future and assess the short-term, medium-term, and most importantly, the long-term traffic potential of our keywords. Next, we looked at competition and saw that Google provides two estimates of the competition relating to a specific keyword. The first estimate is what we call the broad match competition estimate, and it gives us an idea of how many web pages are generally related to the keyword we're investigating. The second estimate is what we call the phrase match competition, and this gives us a more specific estimate of the pages that actually mention the phrase that we're interested in targeting. So our ultimate conclusion, and the main thing you should take away from this entire video, is that when we are looking at traffic, we should focus on broad match traffic data, and when we are looking at competition, we should focus on phrase match competition data. If you find this video a little confusing, please don't worry. These concepts can be tricky, especially if they're completely new to you. What you'll find is that everything will become a lot clearer over the next few days as we show you how to actually use Market Samurai to explore a market and find a suitable niche.